Welcome to the Machinery Pete Pavilion here at Farm Journal Field Days, folks. And next up on our demonstration stage, the good folks at ADS, Advanced Drainage Systems, leaders in agricultural water management since 1966, improving your bottom line in a big way. Now this demo, folks, is really something. We're going to go into the field for an ADS installation with Ben Van Roekel, known as the IowANFarmer, out on YouTube and social media. And folks, stick around for the end of this video, the last 5-6 minutes. You'll learn how ADS is going to great lengths to keep 400 to 500 million pounds of plastic out of landfills on an annual basis.
Yesterday we did a thing called pre-ripping, where we had the 4-inch boot on and we pre-ripped the path. That will let the plow pull easier through the dirt because it's going to have less compaction about where the plow is actually going. You pre-rip a little bit above what your actual depth is. That way the plow or the pipe is sitting on virgin soil on the second path. Today, since we actually have the 8630 sitting over there idling, we're actually going to be using it. We're just going to hook two tractors together and pull this main up the hill both ways. So that's what we got coming planned here for the day. And then as soon as we get done with that, we're going to switch the boots to a 4-inch, and then we're going to do a few pattern tile runs. Okay, so now we're in here in the field where we're actually going to make the run. We're actually at the top of the run, which if you guys can see it, there's a little white stake right about in front of the center line of this tractor there. That's where my dad wants to put a tile inlet at one point in time, but we're just pulling in the run today, so we need to start our survey. What's important when you go to do the survey is you need to make sure the plow is pitched all the way up and your wheels are all the way in the transport position. Our satellite is green, that means we have good signal. And as soon as I click start survey and start driving forward, you will start to see this bar graph plot a course here. This is one of the places that the walking tandems will shine. It's gonna run the plow smoother over the dirt or over the ground. So I'm surveying kind of slow because Ryan's riding here with me, but you can survey a little bit quicker if you wanted to with the walking tandems. But what we're going to be looking at for getting a good survey run is this line right here that it's plotting. We don't want it to be looking like a heartbeat sensor or anything like that. We want it to have a good survey, good smooth line. Like you can see here, we've ran 150 feet so far. We've already lost 5.5 feet in rise, and our average grade on this run is 3.5%. So now that we've got the survey done here, you can see the total distance is 992 feet. It'll be a little bit longer than that because the survey point is actually the globe on the plow, correct? Yep. So we're going to be a little bit longer than that. My total rise is 27.5 feet from where we're here to where we're going. And the average grade is 2.77%. But now, before we switch everything around, we're going to make sure that we can make the tile run that we want to do. So we're going to switch to this from survey mode to install mode and plot the course of the tile run. 44 and our max at whatever would fit. Some depth of 44.
And then the max, it's pretty tight as it is looking at your graph.
Yeah.
So it might go down to like 48 or so.
Well, we better go down until it'll show them that where it airs.
Yep.
So see, now this comes up 0-inch difference. That basically it tells you where your error is at 259 feet, which its target depth and maximum depth are the exact same. So we go up to 6, we get rid of the errors. That's telling us we got a good run that we can make, and that's another tight run.
So the other thing we like to try to do on this screen is the type of the tile.
We're going to select the tile type. It's a main. Select the tile size and description. This is a 8-inch perforated tile, and you could name the tile run too if you wanted to name the tile run, but we're not going to. And then we hit the check mark, correct? So now we are minimum starting depth of 44 inches. I think we got 44 inches there.
Looks like it.
So we're good to go. here in the hole is Michael, the ADS salesman who has sponsored the pipe for the runs that we're making here today. And what we're doing now is making the double wall connection, which this is the double wall, which double wall just means 2 linings of plastic, correct?
Yep, so for dual wall, for single wall, you have a corrugated exterior, corrugated interior. Dual wall is going to have a corrugated exterior, smooth interior, so it can carry more volume of water all at once. And it'd be higher pipe stiffness, so you can go stronger than single wall.
But we can't run a dual wall through the plow. So the stiffness of this, when we get to a shallower depth where tractors aren't going to be running down here, so it's not that big of an issue, but it'll give the pipe more strength when there's not as much dirt on top of it to support the structure of the pipe. Which he's actually told me some pretty interesting stuff about, like recycling the plastic, which we'll talk about later. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to try and get him to demonstrate what the proper way is to bed in the pipe when you have these start holes, to make sure that you have good support on each side of the pipe. That way the pipe holds the structure.
Yep.
I think that's something that
exactly. So the way plastic pipe works is the weight's going to get distributed to the top, and then the weight or the energy will be dispersed to the sidewall. So you want to just make sure you line correctly, just to have that sidewall support.
So if we look at this here, what we're going to be doing down here in the hole is that when we, since it's a flat bottom to this, is that we're going to make sure that we get dirt into those areas where if it was flat, it wouldn't have the dirt. So that's when we backfill this, is that we're going to make sure we get dirt into these.
Yeah, and when we connect the 4-inch, we can really show that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to show with 4-inch, but
Get the rod. So Andrew's going to be running the 8630 as the tow system for us, or the tow tractor for us. We'll show you how it's actually hooked up. We talked about earlier that the tow cable goes underneath the tractor, and it's actually a cable that's underneath the tractor, and then it's shackled to a big old tow rope. And then like what? Is that like a 2.5, 3-inch tow rope? 2.5, I think. 2.5-inch tow rope that's shackled to the back of the tractor. Wasn't it?
both of them are rated at 150,000 pounds.
150,000 pounds. So Andrew's responsibility is obviously to pull me, and he needs to keep this cable right here out of my duals when we're pulling. But as he pulls, the tension will change on us, and with this rope here, you can't feel any jerks or anything like that. He's got a Midland radio with him. I got one in the tractor, so I can tell him when to go and when to stop, and that's how we're going to be feeding it. But it's probably going to be a pretty tough pull to start it. Almost 5 feet. We're 5 feet deep, starting out with an 8-inch.
Bandit, come here.
So we're going to take the parking brake off. We're ready to run here. Make sure Andrew can hear me. Yeah, you got me? Ready. We need to put continuous flow on remote 1. We're not using the power feeder right now. They said they're ready to go. So remote 3 doesn't need to be on. I should probably turn my float on my wheels on.
Yep.
My float on my wheels go on. You can feel it take the pressure off of that. Yep. Pretty quick. And then I hit start install.
Yep. And I hit your diff lock when you take off too.
And then I can actually put it in now. Then I can hit start install here. Put it in first gear. Give me a little juice. You just pull.
do is, well, so until you're comfortable with it, I'd always pull a little bit extra and then cut it and hook it. Because if, say, whoever's down in the hole doesn't hold on to it good, and it pulls a foot of it before he catches it, then it pulls it apart, and you got to make a splice. So
yeah, that's one thing, is that you got to have somebody holding the pipe in the ground, acting like dirt, even with the tile feeder, because otherwise it'll just drag the pipe. So until it gets going into the dirt, you got to hold the pipe down there.
yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Michael was telling me here that this is a pretty interesting fact, is that you guys see a lot of plastic going into the ground here. These pattern runs, first run we did was 1,400 feet, and then the other 8-inch run that we did it turned out to be 900 feet. 900 feet. So we're putting a lot of plastic into the ground, and right now plastic, people see the plastic floating in the oceans and going in the landfills and stuff like that. And it's a pretty interesting fact is that a good portion of this pipe is recycled. And I don't know, you can tell me the rest of that. Is that ADS's parent company, or is it?
Nope. So it's under ADS's umbrella, you want to call it. So it's Greenline Polymer. It's a subsidy or a
part of it.
Part of ADS.
Yeah.
So it's the recycling side of ADS.
Okay.
So if you Google largest recyclers in North America, ADS would show up under Greenline Polymer. So we're actually the second largest recycling company in North America. So previous to that, I believe we were 4 or 5, but this last year we actually made it to number 2. So what that means, I guess, is in a volume sense, is we're actually keeping between 400 and 500 million pounds of plastic out of the landfill annually. So we're pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
So one thing we're trying to do is even increase that number.
Yep.
The more we can do, because we're using it all. I mean, to your point of virgin versus recycled, we are using some recycled in our products, and we do have a product line solely for virgin, but we're vertically integrated, so we're able to use recycled products or recycled material in our product.
So this is a green way of recycling plastic, is we use it for agricultural purposes, and construction purposes also use pattern tile as well.
Yep. And
going back to a virgin plastic, that means it's a plastic that hasn't been in anything yet so far in its lifetime, versus we were using the example as we were filling up the excavator this morning, is that the gas tank on top of the generator is plastic, and say that had a defect in it, that they could take that plastic, recycle it as in chew it up, make probably a uniform pellet of some type.
Correct. So
out of it.
Yep. So to that point, that gas tank could essentially be a virgin plastic.
Yep.
We're taking those materials, we're grinding them up, send them through filtration systems to take out the impurities. We're turning it back into a pellet form, and then essentially we're melting it down and going through a mold block, and then producing the actual plastic.
The actual plastic pipe.
Yep.
The other thing is that I'll get on and I'll read on the discussion boards about people that do drainage, and if you want to see some interesting conversations, it's like a Ford versus Chevy guy sometimes. Yep. About pipe is that they'll sit there and they'll talk about the plastic that they'll pull into the ground, and one guys they'll say, well, this has more virgin plastic in it over this guy, or this manufacturer over this manufacturer. And to my mind, it was like, oh, well, the more like original first time use plastic in a pipe, the better it is. And something that I didn't know, and probably a lot of people don't know, is that there's actually like standards that this pipe has to be held to. So if the recycling aspects of it, having recycled pipe in it versus one that's made completely from new plastic, has to withstand the same.
It's all tested the same. So our recycled product meets the same standards as what a virgin plastic would. So a lot of our competitors, every 10 feet, you'll actually see a stamp on there that says ASTM and some numbers behind it. That is the standard that the material side of plastic would hold up to. So essentially, to answer your question, the virgin side and recycling, we meet the same standard.
The same standard.
So it was explained to me a long time ago, and it kind of made sense, was at the molecular level of plastic, you know, the pellet, it really doesn't care if it's virgin or recycled. It's how you
reshape it and put it back.
And it goes back to the corrugation differences or the profile of the pipe. There's several other factors that actually determine the pipe stiffness, not just necessarily the material.
The material, yeah. So that was an interesting fact that I learned, is that just because it's a first time or a virgin plastic, it doesn't make it a better pipe in any way, shape, or form. And that's kind of just it's a marketing deal.
Yeah. It comes down to personal customer preference, preference. I mean, we do have, like I said, a virgin line, just for those people that want to buy virgin resin plastics. But our name brand is recycled. We're proud of it. You know, we're all conservationists of the land, and that's one way of doing that.
So if somebody wants to learn more about ADS pipe, how would they?
Yeah, so the easiest,
you or find somebody.
We could probably put a link somewhere on there, but it'd be just ads-pipe.com. That's the easiest to do. And then you'll be able to see. So we're large in the commercial municipality departments, but you'll see an agricultural drop down. So that'd be the easiest. So one thing about ADS is we're not just limited to Iowa or Indiana. We're throughout the whole nation. So anywhere in the whole country, you can find an ADS facility that manufactures or distribution networks. And one way of finding that would be, there's a Find Your Rep section on our website. Click on that, and you'll be able to go through the state and county that you reside in, and they'll put you in touch with somebody. So that'd be the easiest.
Well, thank you very much for
thank you guys for having us here.
Supplying the pipe. I want to give a big thank you to everybody that showed up. In terms of a training event, a learning experience for me, my father, Andrew, and I'm assuming now that you guys will have this experience with us, it was great. I mean, perfect. This was my first type of event like this, where I could learn to use a new tool and showcase it with you guys. Let's go just down. Go up. Early morning struggle, wasn't it?